Hi there, everyone. Again, my name is Krishna Shastri, and today we have Kapil Arora doing a webinar for us about content marketing and how to engage people and customers with it. The goal here is to learn. We wanted to start a web series called Learn with Lander, giving people like yourself an opportunity to learn from the best. And so just to give you a little background for who Couple is. Couple is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Transfunnel Marketing, and they're an agency that offers marketing automation services for marketers and or companies throughout the world. And so what we wanted to do today is have them take over and give you guys a really good idea as to how to create content that generates engagement or more traffic. So as is, I'll let him take it away, and feel free to raise a hand if you have a question. You have that ability in this webinar tool. All right, guys, take it away.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. So I have shared my screen. Please let me know if anyone is facing any problem into seeing screen, right? And today's topic for the webinar is how to create content that generates engagement, right? As Krishna has mentioned, my name is Kapil Arora. I'm representing company Transfunnel. I'm CEO over there. And also I'm a HubSpot certified trainer and have been delivering training on inbound marketing and the marketing strategies now since last few years. And maybe that is one another reason why I'm here today. Hopefully we'll be having a great session to learn about some content strategy, which will work for the business on the immediate basis when you'll start implementing. Okay. So today's purpose is to learn a content strategy framework that both human and search engine would love, right? So we are generating content for two purposes. One is for the humans who could be our future customers, and of course for the search engines to rank up, right? So these are the purpose. So yes, so before we start, yes, if you have any question, please feel free to drop a message in the chat window or raise hand. And Krishna and I would be love having basically make sure that you will get answer. Your question will get answered as soon as possible. So agenda of today's webinar, like what you're going to learn in today's webinar would be basically, first, you'll understand the content creation overview, why we are doing it, what is the purpose of doing it, and understanding the framework for planning content, like how do you plan your content, what are the things which you need before you start planning. Written a clear content mission statement, which is aligned with your buyer persona and the buyer journey. So these three elements has to be aligned when you are starting your content strategy, start writing your content. And outline a working topic cluster for a downloadable content offer. So that is for the search engine optimization perspective. Like how do you design your content pillar and the topic clusters so that your website and the content can get optimized for the SEO. And of course, the reverse engineering content. How do we reuse the existing content? So these are the things which we are going to cover in today's webinar. So let's start. So content creation overview. So why do we need the content creation overview? First of all, right? So while we are dealing with the content, we always have three kind of audience in the mind, right? First, future prospect who have just started the buyer journey. That means they have just started searching online and they are not even aware of their problem statement, and they may not be aware of their solution, like what all solutions are available, right? They have just started their buyer journey. So those are the people who have not even yet fallen into your bucket, basically the funnel. Then second kind of target audience whom we are trying to re-engage would be the future customers who are already fallen into your sales and marketing funnel, but not yet decided Third kind of target audience would be the customers who have already bought your product and services, and you are trying to keep them engaged to make them brand promoter, right? So this is the complete sales and marketing funnel. So now we are talking about the content strategy. So I'm assuming that you all are aware of this particular funnel where we have everything combined together: sales, marketing, and customer support, right? Basically the whole buyer journey from before the awareness stage. When the lead fallen into the funnel, we make sure that the leads are moving to forward towards the customer, and that's what called the success path. So different marketing automation tools are there. They use different language and other things, but the whole idea is to having landing pages in place and converting lead into a prospect into a lead and lead to a customer. So the prospects which are not, which have just started the buyer journey, have not fallen into the funnel yet, so they'll come before the awareness stage. The prospect who have already fallen into your funnel, right, and then have not been converted into customer, they are basically into this funnel somewhere before the customer, from awareness, interest, and the consideration and purchase stage. Then of the customer who have already bought the product and services and planning to move, basically trying to get engaged with your product and services, and you're making sure that they become your brand advocate. So these are the three different kind of audience which you are trying to target before. So when we talk about the marketing terms, it's always good to have a documented content strategy, because that gives you a very clear idea, uh, what exactly is working, what exactly is not working, what have been tried earlier. So it's always, marketers, or mostly marketers, feel comfortable when they have a good documented content strategy, and that is more likely to consider themselves as effective, right? So let's see, okay, how you can have that documented content strategy which will work well with your target audience, because business to business target audience and the journey differs. So before you write any content strategy in the framework, so always you have to align three elements in the content strategy. First, content mission statement. Second, buyer persona. Third, buyer journey. Okay. So I'm sorry, but looking at the time constraint, I'll make some assumptions, like, we all are aware right now what exactly these terminologies are, but still I'll spend like a minute. Like, mission statement is something, the purpose of your content. When you're planning any content out, right, you're planning to push the content out. What is that purpose which you're trying to solve? Basically the reason why we are pushing out the content. Buyer persona is something, that fictitious audience, which is like a fictitious or semi-fictitious audience which you are really want to target. We'll talk about that, like what exactly and how you define the buyer persona. Then you define the buyer journey, like what exactly is the other stages in your business which the persona will go through before they make a decision, right? So we need to align these three all very tightly and neatly, to come up with basically a impactful content, right? So in order to create an effective content, like first thing is, like, we need to determine why, which is the mission statement of your content, right? Why you are creating that content. So people don't buy content what you do, they buy because why you do it, right? So basically, looking at the new target audience, the people have basically the target audience is pretty much enabled using the internet. They want to know why exactly you're doing it, right? So based on that, they'll make their decision, because the what you are doing is already available in the market. A lot of options are there, right? Out of those options, if they have to select one, they look for why, right? So creating a content mission statement helps determine your business why. So let's take one example. Let's say we'll carry this fictitious character, John. John is a marketing manager, and he's basically planning a content strategy for his company, which basically, the company is into text analysis applications, where they keep selling some solutions around automated text analysis. And John wanted to create a mission statement. So this is what the mission statement John came across. Okay. So I'll just read it out for you. This one mission statement over there, right? So we sell an application that transforms unstructured text data into decision-making information. However, when it comes to our content strategy, it's not about marketing our text analysis application, but it's about the idea that everyone should know that there is an automated solution to categorize comments and detect emotions in real time in multiple languages. So if you'll see in this mission statement, there are three different kind of pieces are there, right? First, the John has tried to introduce the product and services, what product and services they are into. Second, the purpose of the content. Like purpose of the content is not to just basically promote the text analysis application, but to basically helping user. And that's what the new Google algorithm, which we'll talk about, right? The rank brain talks about being providing a contextual information to your target audience. And third is basically the what problem we are trying to solve. So typically mission statement will consist three elements. First would be introduce your product and services like we are trying to market, fill in the gap. However, when it comes to content strategy, it's not about marketing or selling your product, but this is the problem which we are trying to solve. And it's about the idea that everyone should know what solutions are available for that problem, right? So let's take a minute, right? You just think about your product and services and the business which you are into currently, right? Take a minute and try to, this could be our first activity. Let's say try to write this mission statement for your business and put it in the chat window. This is just to give you an idea, like give a sense like what is the framework which you have to use for the mission statement. It doesn't have to be right, because mission statement is something like which has to be uh, basically evaluate over a period of time, like with the number of iterations. This first draft is just to make you understand what all elements goes into it. All right. So please feel free to put it in the chat window, and then while during a Q&A session, we'll pick one or two and try to describe that, and we'll see okay where the scope of improvement over there, right, in the mission statement. So that's the first activity in your content framework. Always be ready with the purpose, and that's what is required with the new algorithm, all the search engine algorithms, right? Do have a purpose and provide a contextual information to the end user. That's the first activity which you have to do, right? I'm sorry. The second stage in the content framework is buyer persona. Like we all have heard about the buyer persona. So it's a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on the qualitative, quantitative, and qualitative analysis, right? So when I say qualitative and the quantitative analysis, basically that consists all the demographical information about your target audience. So if you'll typically look for a buyer persona, whenever you're working on a target audience for your business, you always look for some particular kind of target audience. Ideally, it should be 3 to 4 different kind of business buyer persona for your business, right? Not more than that. But few businesses always like have 5 to 6 buyer persona, and few may have only 2 to 3, right? So it's never a good idea to have more than 5 to 6 buyer persona, or it is never a good idea to have less than one or two or three buyer persona, right? So always try to make sure that you balance it out, right? And you pick out all your most important buyer persona, the target audience whom you really want to target, right? And try to categorize and list that out on the paper, saying, you know what is the background? Is it the designation of my target audience would be VP of marketing or CEO or CIO of the company or any CXO of the company? What is the demographic which I'm really want to target? I'm really trying to target, right? If it's in the CXO, is it like 35 to 40 years of age or 45 to 50 years of age? Or if it's marketing manager or maybe some other manager, so is it 25 to 35 age? So that demographic which you really want to target. Then identifiers like usual, what kind of searches they'll be looking for, right? Typically we call it as like a keyword analysis, but it's not a keyword analysis. It's basically a long tail keyword analysis. The phrases the user is searching for, what problems which they are facing and trying to search over online. Then goals, what exactly they are trying to accomplish, and the challenges, right? So let's take again John's example. John is basically trying to create a buyer persona for a customer experience manager, Maggie. Let's say this is the semi-fictional character which he has designed. Name is Maggie, and she is a customer experience manager in the company. So when he's tried to write down the background, he just did a research. Okay, it's Maggie is a customer insight manager or director whom John really wants to target. Then demographic perspective, usually women she's a woman from the age between 30 to 35 years old and must have done some university degree, lives in urban area. An income range would be 45 to 60K dollar. So that's what they are looking for. And say identifiers like what all the technical problems and the solutions she must be talking about and having the phrases in her mind. She must be technically savvy and uses search engine to perform research. And goal, what she's looking for is basically basically her role, which she needs to justify is need to identify what drives customer loyalty so company can increase number of loyal customer and decrease churn. And generally it's a new position in the company, it's not a very old position, it's a trend. Like now people have started hiring these kind of roles, right? Customer experience manager. So it's generally a new position, and Maggie needs to prove her value to the business. So that's the goal she has in mind. And then the challenges, if we talk about, uh, she understands that a lot of text data is available within the business, which is in the unstructured format. And she's looking for a solution to make sure that, okay, which can make sense for the business and she can drive some sentiment out of it, right? And Maggie receives thousands of NPS survey results and other input from the customers and the target audience, which she really wants to put into an informational way for the management. And they don't understand the problem right now, but they're looking for some solution for that, right? So that's the typical buyer persona which John has decided, like based on the text analysis automation solutions, right? So let's do one another activity. You know what? Just basically let's try to write out a buyer persona for our business. Let's write one buyer persona for now, which is like most important target audience for our business. Let's take a minute and try to write basically buyer persona and try to include as much as information, like basically what would be the designation, what would be the role, what would be the challenges, and what is the solution which your target audience would be look for, right? And give it a name like from basically name would be suggested always from your existing customer. If you have any ideal existing customer which you really want to target and you have managed to close that, so write that person's name and give it a name and give those all criteria which you would look for before you're targeting anyone. Let's take a minute. Sorry. All right. So hopefully you must have written something, right? Again, this cannot be done alone and as like in the first draft, right? It has to be discussed within the stakeholder. This just to give you an idea like what exactly the information goes into and how does the buyer persona comes out, like what all things which you look for while you are creating your buyer persona, right? So the ideal stakeholders to discuss the buyer persona would be the sales and marketing team and the business owners all have to get into a room and discuss like, and then of course the input which will come best would be from the sales team because they are out in the market and dealing with the customer and to it day and night. So ask for their input and they'll be able to guide you through basically what exactly the buyer persona ideal profile for the business. So the second step is to create the buyer persona, and then the final third step would be the buyer's journey, right? Then we'll talk about, okay, you know what, how to come up with the content, looking at those, aligning these three elements. I'm sorry. Okay. So buyer's journey, basically the active research process, like when the buyer persona is looking for some solution or looking for some problem statement, right? The target audience. What are those steps which the target audience has to go through before they can make a purchase? It could be for the product, it could be for the services, right? So we all are aware of, like, I just picked up some few common stages name from the industry, right, which are the most common, right? Let's talk about the awareness stage, consideration stage, and the decision stage. Of course these can be basically named different and there could be more stages, right? Just to keep it simple, we just picked it for the example for these three stages. So awareness stage is always about the problem, what exactly the problem is which the target audience is thinking about. Consideration stage is all about the solution, and decision stage is about the product and the service, so like the what solution we are providing, right? So talk about the awareness stage. So where, let's say, the same persona which we have created, Maggie, the John's target audience, Maggie has a lot of unstructured text data and needs to make a sense of it, right? So that's the typical problem statement for John's target audience. Solution, what is the solution when Maggie starts searching online, right? What exactly she'll be looking for? She'll be looking for if there's an automated solution to categorize comments or detect emotion in real time in the multiple language. So that's the solution which Maggie will be trying to search over online, and that's where we have to target that. And decision stage would be, right, you know what, and that's how John can help her out. John can basically provide a free consultation of her business customer feedback data. And that's where Maggie and John can get engaged for the working related side of it, right? Basically, this is how we can help you out, right? So each stage is focusing on different type of element, right? On the very initial stage, we are talking about the problem statement. Then we are talking about the solution, and then how we can get engaged on the decision stage to convert that, right? So, so what are those buyer journey, like when we are trying to sell our product and the services? What exactly we are looking for, right? If we some target audience we are trying to target, what would be going through in their mind as for the problem statement perspective? And if they are very clear and the knowledgeable understood the problem statement, then the second step would be what is the solution they would be looking for. And then third would be the what is the decision, how we can help them out or how we can influence that buyer target audience decision from the product and the services perspective, right? So we'll not spend time over here because this is a very longer exercise. Let's say we'll just do it later if the time allows. Okay, so these are the three key elements which we need to look for when we are trying to basically come across the content. These three things pieces has to be come together and has to be written in a way so that it makes sense for our target audience and for our business. And then the next element which we need to take care of, the search engines. Of course we cannot ignore the search engine, right? We need to be contextually right from the target audience perspective, and then we need to look for the search engine, what exactly they are looking for, and then combining all these factors we need to look for. So from the search engine perspective, let's say Google will take an example, right? Now with the new algorithm rank brain, everything has been changed drastically across the industry. right? Earlier, all the businesses were targeting for the keywords and trying to put the keywords into the data and text basically somewhere and trying to get rank up. But after this new algorithm, everything has been changed, right? So if you read more about the rank brain, you will understand it's all about the contextual information, machine learning. So Google's machine learning language is there, which is getting improved day by day and minute on minute, right? By learning the user experience. When any user is searching for some contextual some phrases, Google is trying to put them up, like few contextual information on the up, and then studying the user's behavior. Okay, if there's some user Google has sent to some website, how much time a user is spending, no matter if they have or may not have the same keyword which user was searching, but the contextual information is available, then the rank goes up. And more the time user is going to spend on the page and more the user is going to get engaged with the content, the ranking will automatically go up. So it's all on machine learning side of it, right? So that's where we have to look for. And for those contextual information, we are going to work on the basically the pillar pages strategy, which we are going to discuss right now, right? And search engines are not customer, as like Justin said, right? They are not our customer, but the humans are. So human strategy, which we have discussed initially, like the three pillars, aligning them, mission statement, buyer persona, buyer journey, and then putting that content out in terms of the search engine. That's where our makes the whole content successful. So let's talk about the three of your content, like a series of pillars, right? Let's say if you're writing a pillar pages, what is that pillar pages is basically, it's like a foundation for your business for the content strategy. Now, I know that most of you must be already aware of what is the pillar pages, but let me spend a minute, like for the people who are not much aware of what is the pillar pages. Sorry. So pillar page is basically a website page that covers a broad topic in depth. Like let's say if we are talking about one particular topic, content topic, idea, and that particular web page would be providing the information in depth, in and out. So related to that one particular topic, any information someone is looking for will be available on that web page, and is linked to a cluster of related content pieces. And then the few content pieces which are not available on that page and may be related to that particular topic, the pillar page will have a related link to that. So if we have to talk about, let's say we'll pick one for the John's case, like we'll pick one example, the sales qualification. That's the topic around which the John is willing to write a pillar page. The sales qualification would be the topic. And then what John will do is John will look for subtopics. You know what could be the subtopics around this one core topic? Sorry. So let's say sales qualification, the qualification framework, what is banned, qualifying ideas, why disqualifying isn't it a bad thing, when to disqualify, what is a qualified prospect, right? So these all just subtopics are there which are relevant to the sales qualification topic. And whenever someone is searching for sales qualification, the person must be searching for these other subtopics as well, right? So what John will do, will start thinking of this core topic and then start writing these subtopics, and we'll look for some other information apart from this, if any other information which John can provide a link, which can be useful for the end user. Now, when an end user is searching on the over online, let's say about the sales qualification, and you'll see that how many results are there, 97, basically 97 lakh millions results are available. Out of that, Google has to rank some one particular content piece on the top, right? And for that perspective, let's say this HubSpot's one particular page which got ranked top, and then user landed on this particular page, which is a pillar page around sales qualification. Now you'll see in this particular page, visitor can easily navigate through the information. A lot of information is available, right? And then the provided in a very easy to understand format, like what all information is available on this page. User can scroll down and read about all the information, and on the top these links been provided to navigate through the page, because it's an in-depth information, right? And if you'll see, then when the top page talks about this particular topic, in and out, and meanwhile the relevant link has been provided, which particular topic has not been covered in this pillar page, but is available somewhere else. So that link has been provided which talks about the particular topics, so user can click on the link and go to the another page and read about it, right? So the idea is basically user is trying to find out some information around one particular topic, and this one particular pillar page provides in and out information about the topic. And more the time user will spend on the page, more the ranking goes up, and more that basically user get engaged. And these all things are basically search engines are looking for using the machine learning languages, and that goes up. So that's the new thing. It has nothing to do with the keywords. Yes, keywords can be useful to come up with these content subtopics, right? Whatever the people are searching for, phrases and the keywords, based on that you can look for these subtopics and create your content pillar page. So all the information, so always try to come up with some 2 to 3 pillar pages for your company, and try to write that, and make sure that you find those core topics which has no or least overlapping among those, right? Otherwise the pillar pages content will be overlapping across in the multiple page side of it. So try to come across with those pillar pages. So this particular example, so this is the data which given by HubSpot. The source is HubSpot with this particular data. On this particular pillar page, 1500 plus organic traffic non-paid users are coming every month, only on this one page, right? And think about if you have multiple pages like that, so how much traffic only the content can drive on your website. Of course this has to be related with your all those 3 frameworks, which is mission statement, buyer journey, and the buyer persona. But from the algorithm, your search engine's perspective, this is how you have to design the pillar page. So when you combine these all, that's where your content strategy come across well, and which will engage audience and will drive you the traffic. Okay. And when you do the basically, whenever you're moving forward, it pays to look backwards. Like basically, I'll just take a moment and just read this sentence out. Sorry. Yeah. So probably when you have read first time from the forward side of it, right, you must have missed out the seconds there, right, in the statement. But if you'll go backwards, you will clearly know, what is the and that, and you'll clearly notice it, right? So sometimes it's good to go backwards with your content strategy. And that helps a lot. What do you mean by that? See, process of working backwards to create a valuable piece of long-term content by recycling a series of planned content initiative. So you already have put effort to write some content out. There's some existing content is already available, right? But which may or may not have been optimized or the use to its potential. So it's always good to go back and revise your content strategy and come across with the different ideas, right? So how does this work? So let's say you have started writing the content, choose a core topic, identify the topic cluster, which is the subtopics. Then you will start creating separate different blocks out of it. So you don't have to get into the pillar page straightforward. Let's say you started writing separate blocks for those subtopics, and then combining all those like similar kind of topics together and made some downloadable offer out of it. Maybe an ebook, maybe an infographic, or maybe in a white paper, right? So which are the topics which are related to each other? You have combined that and made a downloaded offer out of it, and start promoting it to generate leads through the lead flows and the social media, email campaigns, and other things, whatever channels fits well with your buyer journey or the buyer persona. Then deconstruct downloadable offers, like deconstruct that basically the offer which you have combined it, all those 4 or 5 pieces or 8 to 10 pieces into one downloadable offer, deconstruct that, and then start creating basically the pillar page out of it, because that gives an a little idea, because you have already used it as a downloadable offer, you have already used it as a blog. Though by now you are already clear, what is working well, what users are searching for, and then you can deconstruct that and start creating pillar page out of it, and start putting the links among those. Basically you can interlink all those blocks and the content to give that idea of the pillar page. So to tell the user, this is all information is available, and then user can easily navigate through the pages. And then of course create a conversion path on the website, basically the CTA, How do you make sure that if user is willing to get in touch with you, this is the best way of to reach out to you, right? So that way you can do that. So sometimes when you have an existing content, feel free to go back and read it through again and try to combine those content back and into a downloadable offer. And then again, once you are done and you know now you're not getting enough engagement out of this one particular piece has been exhausted, you can create pillar page out of it. So that's what I had to share today on the webinar. So I'll just leave it open for the question and answer. If you have any questions which you really want to answer, which you think has not been answered properly in the thing, please feel free to ask right now.
Thank you, Kapil. That was very informative, and it helped me understand a little bit more about how you guys run your content strategies for your customers. Does anyone else have a question? I noticed that there were a few chats in the chat group, and I just wanted to see if all those answers were kind of answered. So John says we market mobile apps. However, when it comes to our content strategy, it's not about not about marketing mobile apps, but to help users understand how easy and secure our apps are and what makes us stand out in our market. Kapil, did you respond to this?
So not actually. I will just do it right now, right?
Okay.
So John, definitely this is a good place. Basically, the good start for the mission statement perspective, right? And then, but I think what can be added more over here is like what user can find out of it, right? When you're pushing out the content out, yes, of course, mobile app, but it's not about the mobile app. What user is looking for is looking for the convenience side of it, right? So you can talk about the features and the convenience which can be provided using that. So that can be inserted as a mission statement, as a purpose. And when you'll try to target that thing, automatically all the phrases which user may search for online will get covered in your content, and that will become very helpful for you, useful for you. Yeah, and still, if you think like you know what, you need some help on that side of it, please feel free to send us an email to Krishna, and we'll definitely would love to help on that side of it. And then we had Rajesh has mentioned like the role perspective, leading marketing plans and the marketing team challenges, keeping up with the market trends and closing the sales loop, education bachelor's master in marketing, right? So Rajesh, the persona is a good start with. Let's say leading marketing plans and marketing team challenges, right? So I think the problem statement can be defined better over here for the persona, because leading marketing plan is not the end goal of the buyer or the target audience. The target audience end goal is to maybe either out of three things, right? Either to generate new leads, or to convert existing leads, or to retain the customer, right? So that would be the end goal of the person, right? So, and that's where they'll come up with the marketing plans and lead that. So I think the problem statement can go a little more deep. So that's where you can improve the persona on side of it. Anyone other thing? Any other question? Yeah, that's a very good question, John. So just to everyone, for everyone else, John has asked me, they have a mixed group as a target audience, basically mix of startups and the mid-sized companies. So how do we make sure that the buyer persona gets fit in all the industries across, right? So John, in that particular case, I would highly recommend you create two different and the separate personas, because when you talk about the startups, the problem statement is different, and when you talk about the mid-sized company, the problem statement is completely different, right? So targeting both would be very difficult in with one buyer persona, and it will not help anyone. So better to create two different separate buyer persona, one for the mid-size, one for the startups, and not try to combine both, because definitely the problem statement and the solution for both of them is different.
You know, to add to that, Kapil, I think one of the things that we did in our early days as Lander was when we started, we were a small startup trying to make an impact for our beautiful design and what have you. And we focused on not several buyer personas, but actually just one, which is to say someone had a landing page to build. And I agree with you. I don't think it makes sense to just do a singular buyer persona, because at the end of the day, each person's problem, each person's needs will vary, and it only makes sense to group them into, up to maybe 4 or 5 buyer personas in total. Because if you go beyond that, then driving engaging content becomes a lot harder to do when you personalize for each and every person in the mix. So yeah, John, I think my personal experience has been 4 or 5 buyer personas. Kapil, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so basically, as like we were discussing, let's try to restrict it from 3 to 5 buyer persona. Sometimes you can go up to 5 or 6, but let's not go more than that. There's no specific problem. It's just the problem of managing those, right? So because see, the idea behind creating buyer persona is to come up with the drip and nurturing campaigns and the content strategy. And if we are not able to manage those many personas and then not able to create that much of content to targeting each different kind of persona separately, then it doesn't make sense. So that creates more burden on your head. If you have a big enough team which can manage more personas, please feel free to go ahead with more personas. But ideally, I think I have seen with working with multiple companies, the bandwidth allows maximum up to 5 to 6 personas. So it's all about the bandwidth. It's not about how many you can have. Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's a small team, so definitely I won't recommend more than 3 to 4, because that will create a lot of mess in the system and you won't be able to control that, and that's dilute the whole purpose of creating the persona. So ideally it should be 3 to 4.
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps it up. If no one else has any more questions, I want to thank everyone for joining us here at Lander, and we look forward to engaging with you again in our next webinar, which should be, I think, in less than a month now. We will send you guys all emails in case you'd like to join us. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Kapil. Great presentation. Have a good afternoon for the rest of you. Take care.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. And if you still have some questions, please feel free to drop an email to me or Krishna, and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Speaking of emails, I'll just send you guys an email in the chat box, or not an email, but a link to my email in the chat box, so you can send me an email, and Kapil can do the same.
Sure.